Assalamualaikum and good afternoon, guys. Now we'll be talking about fortification of foods with micronutrients. Nutritional deficiencies are a very serious problem globally because they can cause detrimental results to humans and also decrease our quality of life. Therefore, the WHO has identified iron, zinc, iodine, and vitamin A deficiencies as the most serious risk factors. Both developing countries and developed countries have published legislation to fortify staple foods to ensure that a wide proportion of the population has access to these nutrients. So, what is fortifications? Is there any strategies to ensure successful fortifications? But first, it is useful to know some definitions. RDA, or Recommended Dietary Allowance, is the average daily dietary intake level is sufficient to meet nutrient requirement of nearly all healthy individuals in a particular life stage and gender group. Tolerable upper intake level, or UL, this is the highest average level of daily intake likely to pose no risk of adverse health effects for almost all people in the general population. The UL of vitamin C, for instance, is 2000 mg per day, where the RDA for adult is around 90 mg per day. Adequate intake level, or AL, this is the recommended average daily intake level based on observed or experimentally determined approximations when the RDA cannot be established and scientific evidence is not available. Therefore, there is no AL for vitamin C because RDA for vitamin C is established. GRAS, or GRAS. This is a term that states which substances are safe to use as food additives by experts and published scientific evidence. And finally, bioavailability. This is the proportion of an ingested nutrient in a food that is absorbed and utilized through normal metabolic pathways. In a nutshell, it is how well we absorb and utilize nutrients. And finally, we come to the definition of food fortification. This is, as you can remember, is modified food categories of functional foods and is defined as the addition of one or more essential nutrients, and we're going to call this fortificant, to a particular food that we're going to call food vehicle, whether or not it is normally contained in the food. There are many justifications to fortify foods, and this include poverty and the lack of access to a variety of foods, especially in developing countries. There could be high incidences of infections, lack of knowledge towards appropriate dietary practices, and maybe unhealthy diet habits and other impediments for deficiencies in developed countries. Many people in the world, especially school-aged children, pregnant women, and elderly people, suffer from the consequences of vitamin and mineral deficiencies. Therefore, fortification of staple foods has become one of the most cost-effective approaches and long-term strategies to remedy or correct a demonstrated deficiency of nutrients in the population without significant changes to food habit. For successful fortification, target population, appropriate level of fortification, processing, and preparation methods of the food vehicle, estimated nutrient requirement, costs, and finally, consumer acceptability have to be taken into considerations. Additionally, monitoring and controlling systems have to be implemented. The selected food vehicle must be technologically and economically fortifiable, have wide and constant consumption, have an appropriate serving size to meet a significant part of daily dietary requirement of the fortificant added, and it must have good stability as well as low cost. Another point to consider is that fortificant must be resistant to dietary inhibitors, whether the inhibitors are added or naturally present in food. Fortificant must also have good bioavailability and must retain the desired sensory characteristics of the food, such as flavor, color, odor, or texture. And once the fortificant is used, the resulting food must be safe to consume. The final point about justification for fortification is basically it's about product differentiation. This is the reason why we consider all this factor in during design. Okay guys, now let's talk about strategies. WHO has defined 3 types of fortification strategies. Number 1, they call it mass fortification. That refers to the fortification of a food that is widely consumed by the general population. Number 2, targeted fortification, which refers to the fortification of a food designed for a specific population subgroup. And number 3, probably that of interest to you and me in the market-driven fortification, which refers to the fortification of foods voluntarily that are already in the market. So we are talking about market share. So what will we do in class? We'll be talking about case studies. There are so many micronutrients being used as fortificant. We'll use examples such as iron, calcium, vitamin C, omega-3 fatty acids. The information can be quite technical, so we cannot cover in here. I'll see you in class to dwell more on the subjects. Okay guys, so happy learning. Take care.